Hey guys, welcome back. Awesome to have Charlotte Taylor Green on the podcast today. She's recently back from the European Open Championships in Vienna with a silver medal in the women's doubles. So it's awesome to have her on the show so we can hear the lowdown from Vienna. But just to give you a bit of background, we've been following her journey for a while. You're like just reading it and seeing what you've done. You've got a sub 60 time 59.44 in Manchester Pro Doubles with the awesome Gabby Moriarty, and we had a Gabby on the show. You've also had an open women's doubles win in London with 57.31 with Sinead Bent, who's also another amazing athlete. So we're pretty sure you're like the dream doubles partner with this incredible track record that you seem to be having. You went sub-hour as well this weekend in Vienna, I think, didn't you? So
yeah.
Yeah, we just needed to get you on the podcast to find out like why everyone wants you as their doubles partner and how you just keep breaking this hour time. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, sub hour is the dream, isn't it? So I think I'll be the day I don't do a sub hour is gonna be a bit of a shock, I think. Enjoying it while it's lasting. But
yeah, exactly. And firstly, whilst it's fresh in your mind, I guess we should touch on Vienna because congratulations, you had an awesome race and managed to come away with second. So how was Vienna for you? What was the atmosphere like? How was the race?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. I think in terms of atmosphere, it's probably been one of my favourites. I mean, the course for me was a bit fiddly in terms of corners and the layout. And as a runner, kind of like that's what like London XL, long straight, so I could actually sort of wind and open up my stride a little bit. But in terms of like atmosphere, like the people, it was just, I don't know, really, really friendly. Just sort of like a really good vibe to it.
Yeah, I mean, it looked ace. We were gutted we couldn't get, we weren't quick enough like to get out. We kind of, it came around really quick and then we were like, can we get a last minute flight? And I was like, there's literally one flight from Scotland and it doesn't really work. So it looked awesome. And then for the doubles race, it was the open weight. How do you find, obviously you've raced pro as well, how do you find racing the open in comparison? Does it just feel like a dream, like that you just fly through the sleds? Or
and honestly, and actually I think, well, the sleds this time felt hard, but I was quite unwell through like January, February, so I think in the space of 4 weeks I pushed a sled 20 meters, pulled a sled 20. I did one session with a push and a pull and that was it going into it. So the sleds felt a little bit harder than they did last time. But I kind of weirdly, I don't know, I think the open I found hard. I think because you can run a bit faster, you can kind of tire yourself out a little bit more. So I haven't really worked out which one feels one feels the best, really.
They're both brutal of it. Like, because whatever you do, you're trying to go as fast as you can, aren't you? So you're going to hurt just as much.
Yeah, and that's it. I think if you get the best out yourself, it should always hurt, regardless if it's open, pro. If you're putting 100% in, it's going to hurt regardless. So I think different stations, just, you know, it feels a little different. Like wall is definitely a lot better in the open. And like the kettlebell carriers and stuff like that. But yeah, the sleds, it just depends on the day, doesn't it? With sleds, you just don't know what you're going to get with the carpets. And yeah, sometimes it feels all right, and other times just like this is hell on earth. So
yeah. And you did it with your mate as well, didn't you, this weekend?
Yeah, like
she's a good runner as well.
Jade's amazing. I mean, like she's still now like she'll run like a 16:50, so she's faster than me, but her priority is running. So I think she's done like between Frankfurt and this one, she did 2 Hyrox sessions. She doesn't really do gym. She doesn't do a lot of the Hyrox stuff. So she's the faster runner, so she drags me round. But then I have to hold a little bit more in the middle, if that makes sense, because she doesn't do that much. She's not, so yeah, so I'm a little bit stronger in the middle and she's just the faster runner, so.
Oh, great. And you say 16:50, that's a 16:50.
Yeah. So she's rapid. She's absolutely, I think
like, what's your 5k, because you're rapid as well. I know you're saying she's rapid, but...
I mean my PB's 16:43, but that's 2020, so I've not done a 5k since. But like she's currently running 16:50, if that makes sense. So she's in that shape now where I wouldn't run, you know, I'd probably run a 17 something, but I wouldn't run 16 right now. I'd like to try and get back to that sort of times because it's only going to help, isn't it? So
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd love to see that time.
Oh, it's hard. It is hard.
I'd love to get back there too.
You should just go along with it, Faye. People will believe you.
I know,
Yeah.
just tell them you've done it. It's fine. Unless
Yeah,
they,
I don't think they would.
unless they know para 10 well and they can stalk you, they're not gonna know. So
Yeah.
And then what about for everyone listening, like your background as a runner predominantly? Yeah. Do you mind just giving a little insight into kind of how long you've been running and what your training's been like over the years?
So I first kind of got into running, when was it? It was about 2010. I mean, I did run at school. I was actually quite good. Like, only think one boy at cross country could beat me, but I never really pursued it. I just kind of liked playing all sorts of sports. And then, the classic, it went to college and stuff like that and started drinking heavy. And then it was about 26. I was 26 when I kind of got back into it. And then I did a marathon around 3:40 with a friend. And then that's kind of where it spun off from then. And then 2012, I joined Bristol and West, and they were looking for a steeplechaser. And I was like, what the hell, let's give this a go, see what I can do over the barriers. So steeplechasers kind of then, that's what got me really into running in track and field. So that's where I come from.
Is it Gabby that does steeplechase
so,
as well? Yeah, I was like, we've had this conversation, and I'm like, about like jumping over that hurdle and landing in that water.
Like me and Gabby, I think she's like my twin. Like she's my twin, sort of 10 years younger kind of thing. So I think 8 years, 8 or 9 years. I think it's Gabby 30, something like that. I'm 40 this year. So we've got a bit, but we did found a photo, and it's like a Midland Champs, and she was third and I was first. So I was like, oh my God, like I was in my 30s then. I was like, she must have not even been 20. It was actually, so steeplechase is where we both come from. So
that is crazy, because it's such a unique event, isn't it?
It's a hard event. I think it's a hard event. You've got to be a bit of crackers to do it, definitely. Like it's a tough event.
Do you find it harder than Hyrox? Like, as in, I know it's slightly different, but like,
it's so. I just think if you have that mindset, like if you just push hard, it should feel hard. I think whatever you do, it's just hard in different ways, isn't it? Because the pace you're operating at that, even though I was running for like my PB, I got down to like 9:58, so the sub 10, which is quite a big barrier in steeplechase. You're running at quite fast speeds, so you're only running for 10 minutes, but I hurt just as much in that 10 minutes than I do going for an hour in Hyrox. So it's just a delayed pain, isn't it? Because you're going for a bit longer if you pace it right. Yes, it's I find everything I do hard, just because I will always just go. Yeah,
you do it at that level. How far is it, the steeplechase? What's the distance?
So the main distance is 3,000 meters, but you will get a lot of like league matches. There'd be like a 2K, which I used to quite like because it's just a little bit, a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
But so 3,000, and it's a tough event.
Oh yeah, I mean that is quite a horrible distance.
Yeah.
It's like not a sprint, but not a. It's just in that horrible bracket, isn't it?
So I got into the shorter stuff with the steeplechase, and then 8 was probably my favorite event, but just not quite. I was good at it. I got down to 2:06, but when you're up against girls who can run 2:01, well, now it's like sub 2, and like steeplechase back then, there's opportunities. I've medalled twice at the British Championships, just missed Commonwealths, reserved for GB for an event. So, I did do very well at it. I did love it though.
Oh wow, that's impressive. And do you still go down the track and do any steeplechase or anything?
I wouldn't now. I think I'd be worried I'm going to break my ankles. I think as you get older, the fear of like those barriers are just definitely the water jump. Definitely my dodgy ankle now. There's no chance of doing any barriers.
Okay, fair. I don't blame you.
And do you think that do you quite like Hyrox because it's like the 1K laps as opposed to like a 10K or a half marathon? Like it's more, I guess, shorter distance mixed with other stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You just think of it 1K at a time. Oh, it's just a K. It's fine. Like you don't think about the whole 8K. Well, I don't anyway. It's just one run at a time. Yeah, just hard controlled, and it is a different. It's just prolonged tiredness, isn't it? It's just getting the pacing right, and because obviously it is you're out there for quite a long time. So that's the only thing with Hyrox. I do find it like the hours. Like, oh my God, this does feel long.
Yeah, that's all right though, because you're not going as long as everybody else. You keep doing it sub 1 hour, so
I know.
I don't think you need to worry. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's the mentality I need. Like, this is too long. I should just finish it under the hour, and it'll be a lot easier.
The quicker you go, the quicker it's over. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, so true, so true. So I guess strength training, like you must have to do for steeplechase anyway, like to have that explosive power and the lower body strength. But what about upper body and everything? Like, what about for Hyrox? How have you found training for it and kind of adapting?
Oh, it's just very different, isn't it? And I mean, my arms are tiny. They're still really tiny. And every see the other girls, I feel like I've got spaghetti arms. But I think it's just over time, hopefully I'll just change shape. I mean, I'm 8 kilos up from when I was a runner already. So, and that's in the space of like a year. So, because obviously after Steeple, I went to the marathon, and obviously that endurance running, like you do end up quite small, if that makes, you do end up quite lean. So obviously even now, just getting used to my body's just so different. Even running with like muscle being heavier, that's probably been the hardest thing, like to get around, if that makes sense. So because I just feel a little bit different, and it's just getting used to that.
Do you find it harder to hold the top end speed because you're having to run at like a heavier weight? But
yeah, and I suppose it's and I think because when I left running, it's obviously through quite 2 big injuries, so it was kind of my running was kind of taken away from me rather than kind of going, oh yeah, I'm going into Hyrox. So for me, it's been a little bit of a different journey, and we're still ironing out a few issues and problems. So my volume, like even going into beginning of the season, my run sessions are only 3 or 4 miles, which for Hyrox is still not really long enough. So, we're still building quite slowly. So I'm hoping, obviously, once I can hold more volume as well, that's when I'll start doing the solos. But for now, like doubles, it's probably where my body's at.
Yeah, no fair.
So
ankle injury.
Yeah,
so I've seen,
so it was 2021, the initial one. So I went out for a run. I live in the countryside, so out running round a really narrow bend, and a car come round. So it was either kind of get hit by a car. I had to move out the way pretty quickly, and I was running at pace. I hit a pothole, and obviously that was just a lot of damage. I kind of got back all right, but there was a ligament, my deltoid ligament, so it had ruptured, but it was missed. So when I kept coming back, I just kept getting all these injuries through my left hand side. And I think it was 2023 we finally went for like an MRI, because I was just getting issue after issue, and it was just getting worse. And we found out it was the deltoid ligament, and they kind of said to me 50-50 whether I try and do it or we go for surgery. Like I might be able to, but I have gone through, I'll do it myself and just rehab. If I've got to do less volume or less, surgery for me is like last protocol. Like unless I can't do anything, then I won't go down the surgery route. And then I got that MRI, and then 3 weeks later at work, I was closing. We got a big metal gate. I was closing it. The gate hit the back of my Achilles. My foot went backwards under the gate, and the soft tissue pulled off bone away from my foot. So I ended up with quite a bad fracture, Achilles damage. So the same foot, was not having much luck. So that was November. So it's been quite a long process of getting back. So basically my ankle's very unstable, and I go through stages where there's just not as much power in that left hand side. So working on that at the moment to see if I can get that back fully.
And that was the same ankles. It was
same ankles. So it was like a double whammy. Yeah.
What's the deal? Like, I swear, when you injure yourself, you always hit the same thing.
Oh,
or like,
I know.
Like you hurt your shoulder, and then that's the time that everyone comes over and pats you on the back and like hits your shoulder. Like, why does it happen?
Yeah, it's just been a lot of process, because obviously I probably, if it wasn't for that, I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably still just be running. So obviously kind of going through a bit of a grievement, if that, you do grieve a little bit, because it's obviously your sport's been taken away from you. And obviously as I'm getting older, like 40 this year, like you don't bounce back like I would in my 30s. Like it's just harder. So every time you have a setback as you get older, like that process just takes so much longer, and you've got to be a little bit more patient. So yeah, but obviously then I found Hyrox, and yeah, it's just I am really enjoying it.
And has it? No, go on, Faye.
I was just going to say, how did you find Hyrox? Like, how did somebody come to you and say, hey, I know you can't run right now, but maybe this is a good opportunity for you?
I kind of like following Gabby again, and she was doing it, and because we've always kind of like talked and stuff, and she's like, yeah, give it a try. And a couple of the girls at my gym were doing it, and I was going to do a doubles with a young girl at work. Like I knew that running speeds, I was just going to run round, but I thought, well, I could attack the elements and just use the runs as like help her through it, and just use them as a recovery. It's bad, isn't it? A recovery for me. But at that point then, because of the ankle break, I couldn't do it anyway. And then Vienna last year was meant to be my first solo. I still obviously rehabbing the foot. So it was really nice to go back to Vienna this year, because last year I couldn't do it. Yes, it's been quite a slow process. So that's how I kind of found a Hyrox, and the gym I work in. So now we're like Hyrox affiliated. So that's quite cool as well.
And was it kind of like, I guess you probably been getting lots of like rehab and physio and etc. Has it been quite like a positive process with Hyrox alongside? Because I guess a lot of the exercises helps with stability? I mean, it's still maybe a bit, is it quite hard for your ankle, like lunges and wobbles?
Yeah, so lunges and wobbles I find, and again I think I'm not that tall, but like my legs are really, really long. So my knee to hip is very long. So when I drop down into wobble, the first few I really wobble. I really have to try and find my center, my like gravity center, and keep quite stable. And again, surprisingly, kettlebell carries really throws me out because I think if my ankle starts to move too much, like I really have to try. It's not the heavy, even the 24s. I don't find them bad picking them up and walking with them. I just can't do them as fast as I'd like. You know, when you kind of have to let people go. That's probably a station I'm really aware of my ankles, just because it throws you off, doesn't it? That weight. It's like a bit of a, you know,
like a pendulum, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like I feel like a penguin, you know, like down.
Yeah.
And you see, like obviously when I did it with Sinead, I saw her sprint off with a kettlebell. For God's sake, she's like an absolute animal in there. So yes, certain exercises I still do find hard, and I think burpees. I don't find burpees. I quite like burpees, but again, I just find I've not got the power. So everyone's like, "Oh, your jump should be a lot bigger," and I was like, "But the power's not there in that left hand side still." But we've kind of changed how I'm training. We've got a new strength coach. It's kind of going back to more what I did more when I was running, like a lot more plyometrics and stuff like that. So I'm kind of going backwards a little bit at the moment, but I'm hoping it means like next season going on, I'll be stronger. So that's kind of what we're at, really, sort of going back to basics right now, not worrying too much about the season. So I've decided it's just doubles for me this year, and then next season I will look to go solo.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And then cross training, do you do like quite a lot on the bike, or is that like the thing you hate because runners hate
it absolutely. I think it's just that is it, isn't it? You just see a bike and it just screams injury. I've spent so much time a bike is so important, and I was like, oh, I'll do triathlons. I'm like, no, stop that. I don't. Yeah, I'm never interested in going to triathlon. I was just like, no, I hate it. I hate it.
I mean, it's quite good. It is quite good that Hyrox have come round for you then, because like usually, injured runners are like they do go towards the bike or like swimming or do a triathlon or do a duathlon type thing. At least you've been able to like jump into something like slightly different that isn't.
Yeah, and like the ski and row, I really enjoy it. And I think when I broke a foot, I spent so much time doing seated skier. You know, it's actually one of my favorite. I think ski is probably one of my favorite, and that's annoyingly it's the first one in, isn't it? I'm like, yay, done now. Okay, grind it out.
That's over. Yeah,
fun's over. So and as row, you know, I definitely prefer those as cross training elements. But I think years ago when I was injured, I would cross train so hard, probably more hours cross training than running like I would if I was just out running. But I think the last couple of years, these injuries, I've kind of just taken the time. I want to heal. Like, because you kind of grieve a little bit. Like I didn't want trauma carried on for my performances going forward. So I kind of took the time of like, I didn't over cross train. I kind of spent more time letting my body heal, like resting, eating, and just doing enough that my mind felt like, oh, I've trained a little bit today. That's been, you know, done what I needed to do, but not gone to the point where I'm cross training hours.
Yeah. And I think you can tell that from what you said, like even just having the plan of doing doubles this year and then thinking you're like postponing your solo to next year. It's like you've decided like you're looking forward instead of trying to get back to it too quickly. Sometimes it's better to like extend the process and come back fully fit rather than jump into it and then go back again and then go forward again. Like mentally it's quite hard to deal with setback after setback. So if you
it's definitely, because I had that kind of like between 2021 and 2023, the training was like, you know, and before I was running 80 to 100 miles a week. Now 3 years of not going over 20 miles a week. That's how bad it was. So it's, you know, the fitness I lost, and because I chose not to kill myself cross training, you know, I'm still feel like I'm trying to find fitness. That's you know, I'm doing really well. It's hard, you know, people, oh my God, you're so fast. I'm like, yeah, I know, like, but I want to go quicker.
It's all in relation to you though, isn't it? Like we everyone that's watching you run would be like, wow, she's so fast, I'd love to run that fast. But you're looking in relation to what you were
I just
rather than just the fact you're very fast.
Yeah, and I still, for me, like, you know, for me, I still feel quite slow. But it will come through. You know, I like friend Jade, love his bits. But okay, our last couple of sessions, you know, I was putting on 3:30k pace in between stations. She's on 3:20 having a conversation with me, and I was just like, oh, but yeah, you know. But that's where I think you want to train faster, don't you? Because on the race day, because you don't get like when you're in the gym, you're doing those sessions. Like annoyingly, our treadmills at work are upstairs. So by the time you walk up the stairs to get on a treadmill and then walk back down, you get too much rest. And then I find on race day, there's no rest, is there? So it's that I find I like to train a little bit faster. So hopefully on race day, you kind of pace will be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I need to start doing my intervals at 3:20.
It's hard.
Come on, Em.
We're
We're taking it up, Em.
Taking it up. But...
This is going to be the worst podcast for me. We're going to come off this, and all my training's going to change. No, what about training tips then? Whilst we're on the topic of running, you obviously have a lot of experience running. If there's anyone listening that's trying to get faster at running, whether it's for their Hyrox splits or just in general, like maybe they're done a park run and they want to keep bettering their time, like, is there any kind of tips that you could give people to help them improve their speed?
Yeah, I mean, it also, again, it's incorporating speed work, but I mean, Hyrox is quite difficult because there's quite a lot of elements to kind of cover. So I look at a 2-week like kind of a 2-week block now, where 1 week I'll do interval tempo, and then I won't do a Hyrox session, and the following week I will. So I kind of go over a 2-week rota trying to get everything in 1 week, so it doesn't suit me. But I think with the running, it's just, it's just taking time, consistency, getting out there, making sure your easy runs are easy. And even to begin with, like threshold, you see so many people, threshold running, and yet they're running 30, 40 seconds faster than their race pace, and trying to keep your thresholds where they should be. And then, putting in other sessions that are faster than threshold. So it's just, I think, being smart with it, like increasing the load gradually.
Yeah, that's quite a good point as well. Like, there is a lot to fit in, like, for Hyrox. So yeah, maybe instead of people thinking, oh, I need to do this, and this in 1 week, like if they look over like 10 days or a 2-week period, it maybe makes it more manageable and they can fit everything in and still get the quality. So
I love sort of like a 10-day schedule. So like for me, like I'll have 1 week where I have like a recovery day, and then the following week will be a rest day. So I kind of look at it as a little like mini block. So you go quite hard, and then sometimes I might have 2 rest days within 4 or 5 days to kind of like end that block to get the like true recovery, so I can build again. It's kind of, I think everyone's different. And again, even things like on the back of your easy run, for speed, just doing some strides, like 6 times 30 seconds and things like that. But yeah, I think it's just getting your training right. Like when you turn up to a training session, like just putting the right level of effort in. So if it's easy, like, just do whatever you need to do. Like my easy runs, sometimes it's like, they could be quite quick, but then other times it's a shuffle. I don't get hooked on what my pace is. It's just go on how my body's actually feeling. And I think sometimes like I won't even take a watch. If it's a recovery, I can go out and run without my watch. If I know I want to go out for 10K, I know I think people get so hooked up on, Garmin says this, or like, this pace, that pace, people get so drawn to the data rather than learning how to listen to actually how their body's feeling and going off how you feel rather than like what a watch tells you. So, it's easy to get drawn into all that, isn't it? So, but for me, it's just, kind of just becoming more in tune with myself and knowing what I need for me and my body rather than, worrying about like the data too much and stuff like that.
Yeah, it definitely helps, doesn't it? When you're running a Hyrox as well, and your watch doesn't even give you your pace.
No, you've got to be able to run.
So you need to learn like your own pacing yourself and your effort levels, and then so like taking it from that, because and obviously because you've talked about Gabby a little bit as well, and you're both like die-hard runners. She's like, we were talking about treadmills and using treadmills all the time, and then running outside, and like there's a lot of people now in the Hyrox world that are just on treadmills or assault runners, and like very like, if not sometimes never run outside, or like run not on a treadmill or something that helps them run. Like what's your thoughts on like actually doing some of your running sessions outside or on a track versus being on a treadmill or an assault runner? Like,
I hate assault runners. You run very different. Like if assault runners for me is for sprints, because your hamstring engagement, your foot placement lands very differently. So I don't really, you won't see me on an assault runner, in all honesty. I do love treadmills. I mean, I live in a little village, so in the winter treadmill does become a little bit more my best friend, just because the country lanes, it gets dark. If it's icy, I will use the treadmill quite a bit. But I just love a little bit of mix of it all. Get to the track, get on the road, because on Hyrox you've got to be able to run yourself. Like the treadmill does give you a little bit of a help. You need to know how to go out, and like when you got on the treadmill, you can set your pace, so you know what pace you're running at, and you can kind of sit in and hold. But when you're outside, you've got to do that yourself, and mentally, because you can't keep looking at your watch. So, and I actually as well, like I quite like doing sessions. I won't necessarily go over flat, go up over some hills, and just go, just more to like, I like time. In some distances, I love operating to time, just so I can kind of just run around little loops and sort of like go more by effort and feel than sort of like worrying again what my splits are going to be.
Yeah, I think it is interesting because, like you say as well, you feel different on different days. Like, so one day you can be feeling really good, and you're gonna hold a pace easier, or like your easy run might be a little bit faster because you're feeling good. But if you're feeling really tired, then it's gonna be a little bit slower, or because of it undulating or a hill, or like instead of being so set on a certain pace per K or mile, like just having the intuition and knowing what your body feels like is a good way to be, definitely.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, and also just getting outside, like fresh air, like I think it's really good. You know, it's just, I love being outside more than anything. But I mean, treadmills for the winter, just sometimes it's just a little bit easier, and it depends on the sessions I'm doing as well. I mean, we have got a little loop bar gym, which is like 1,100 meters, so I use that quite a bit. But it does involve running up a hill. You know, when you do the sled and you go start 400 meters running up a hill, you're like, oh, this hurts. But again, it just gets you fit. It just gets you fit. Once I'm running around that little loop in sort of like 4.5 minutes, I know that actually, you know, I'm fit. So it's I just think outside, I do like being outside, but I think that's a running thing as well. When you've competed outside, that's what we're used to. So going indoors is a bit, you know, it can be a little bit claustrophobic, but
yeah, definitely.
It's all got its place though, hasn't it? Everything's got its place. And like you said, if you did your ankle like getting smashed off the road because a car's come because of a pothole, like sometimes actually it's safer as a runner. It's not always safe to be outside and on the roads, especially in the winter. And I mean, we've had so many icy days like in Scotland where you're just like, it's lethal to go out and try and run.
You got to use the treadmill.
So I think it's just kind of gauging, just putting the right one in. You know, winter use it a bit more, but the summer, you know, get outside. But obviously if you're not used to running outside, you kind of gradually want to bring that in rather than just suddenly doing all your sessions outside, because just the load, just a lot more load for your body. So it's just like building it in slowly. And same with track, even though it's rubber, it's still, your run is slightly different again. Like I always find, you know, my hip flexors when I first go back to track always get a little bit sore because you just get that full extension than I would on a road surface. So it's just gradually bringing it in.
Oh, that's interesting. So you get like more like full extent.
From when I'm on a track, I can
like,
stride out, so you can get a little bit faster pace. So I could be more aggressive. So of course, like in terms of ligaments and tendons, like you're putting them on a bigger stretch. So I do find track makes me quite sore. So I am quite careful with track. I have to like build that back in when I've not done it for ages. I can't just go there and do a big session. I do have to sort of but again, everyone's different. So some people, you know, they don't. So, but for me, I do find that.
But then that's interesting because if someone has gone to the track and then their hip flexors are quite sore after, you probably like not necessarily understanding why that may be the case. So that's quite cool to hear. I've not heard that before.
Yeah, and again, you're like on a curve, aren't you? So you're running round. So again, you know, you just find it sort of, again, you're just running slightly different. So I do love track intervals. As you know, it's coming from track. It is, you know, you can run fast, can't you? That's the beauty of it. So and you kind of know where you are with track. Like there's no hiding. Like on a treadmill, do you know if that treadmill's calibrated right? Probably not. Like, you know, when you're on the roads, Garmin, pinch of salt. Like that. So I think for track, like when you go there, you've got a time to measure distance. So it kind of gives you that true where you're really at. So sometimes you're like, yay, and other times like, okay, ass has definitely been kicked today. And not, you know, you're sort of like, not quite where I thought I was, but
smack back to reality.
No, not there.
Wishful thinking. And then what about, I'm not going to ask you who your favorite doubles partner to race is, because that's a very mean question. But what about, is there something like a common theme or how you race? Is it like you have the same communication with all your partner? I don't know, like how do you find racing with different partners?
I think all my partners have been runners, which is great because you just have an understanding. You just, you know, and I think the best, like I think when I did it with Gabby, I could remember turning up and like, right, if I don't think you're going fast enough, I'll tell you to switch. I was like, cool, all good. I think we want to go as fast as possible. So I think we don't go, if you know someone's strong on that station, we're not going to go 50-50. We're going to play it to our strength. So, and I think you respect that, if that makes sense. I love doubles. That's the problem. I think it's faster. You haven't got to pace yourself. There's two of you there to do the work, so you can go a little bit harder. And I think that's what it kind of takes you back to the 1500 meter running, if that makes sense, where you can kind of let yourself go. and go hard, where solos it's quite daunting, isn't it? Like you've got to pace yourself, otherwise it's a slog. But yeah, I do love the doubles. It's just sort of, and I think that's it. You just have to communicate, don't you? I think this weekend with Jade, I think originally she was going to get on the rower first, and we got to the rower and she's like, get on the rower. I was like, okay, cool. Like, you know, you just have to be ready to switch. Like you can have a race plan, but you know, if you need to switch, you switch just to get the best out of yourselves.
Yeah,
totally.
definitely.
And do you like it? Because I'm guessing like athletics and running, it's a very solitary like world, isn't it? Unless you were doing a relay or something. Have you enjoyed having like a teammate and someone to work with? Like during the
I think it's lovely. Like, and Jade, who I did it with, you know, like she's probably like one of my closest friends now. So we've gone on training camps, we've competed against each other for like years, and like, you know, it's actually really nice to actually, instead of trying to drop the other one, actually work together. So I think we always used to, if I ever meet her, she'd be like, where did you come from? Because she could go off faster, and I just took my time to, like, you know, I ran a lot more even than she did. She's got speeds, a lot more speed than me. So it's actually nice coming together and working as a team. And that's it. I think you just want to get around as fast as possible. So you just have that same mindset. It's just sort of like, right, let's go. You know, we'll be fine. You just switch if you need to. So.
And do you like running together? Is it, I know on the doubles you don't, like, it's not like you run side by side. Like usually there's one person kind of a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
So someone tends to be chasing the other person, unfortunately. But how do you find like that kind of pacing? Would you rather lead from the front, or do you like having
I kind of like
else?
chasing. I like chasing.
Okay,
I do. I think it keeps me going. I like the chase. I think, yeah, it just, I don't know why. Even like when I used to win races, I'd come from the back to win. So I kind of like just sit, and I'm quite strong. So for me, if someone goes off, I can't always go off at the pace, but then I will close them down, and I can hold. So and that's it. My friend Jade, she can start off faster, but as she fades, I'll catch her up. So we kind of work quite well in that respect. But I like chasing.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and I think it's also sometimes different people's mindsets about, like, I know like we work with a runner, he coaches us, Robbie Simpson, an incredible trail runner, but he was saying that he likes to lead from the front because he's in control of the race, and it's like his pace, so he kind of sets the pace, and then like he can adapt it if people are kind of coming, but it's like whereas like I don't know, I think I'm more like you, where I kind of want someone else to set it, and I'm happy just like behind, and then can kind of chase.
I think I thrive off closing gaps. I think that's it. Like it's sort of that, on the track I always had a very good kick, so I could just, I thrive a lot of how big of a gap can I create and close. I used to thrive off that. Don't ask me why. It's like a weird little thing I used to have. But yeah, I think you just work out, if you know who's, you know, like me and Gabby were quite well matched. I think we took it in turns, kind of whoever's feeling would be in front. But I think look at the videos, and with me and Gabby, there's a lot of moments where we were actually quite side to side. Where again, Sinead, quicker runner, so you know, it's just hold on for dear life. In a good way. I love it. I know I said I've got to stop pairing myself with like girls who are like a lot younger than me. I think, you know, it's just, you know, hopefully just keep me fit though. I was like, what is it?
No, don't stop. It's working for you. Keep going.
Chasing these youngsters around the track. But
Who's next? I mean, you're ticking them all off the big net. I'm like, God, they're all these big net. I mean, Tia Toomey's into Hyrox now, just, you know, you wanted to give yourself another challenge.
I know. I think the next is, I think, because I turned 40 in April, I would like to try and find a 40 partner just for that 40 to 49.
Into that category.
Can I say my own age? You know, because, you know, I think there's some times there to be had. So need to find myself anyone a willing participant.
You never know.
They're all bringing you down, like into the lower age
Hit myself
group.
out.
Which, you need to get the times in that category, don't you?
Just go to some like track meets and some 5K races and go scouting people.
Just scouting.
Yeah, that's what you should do. And then as a runner, I know you've done like quite a lot of camps and stuff like that. Like, what's it been like? I'm guessing like this is starting to be a new thing in the Hyrox world now, where people are starting to do camps and like go away to train and stuff. You've obviously done a bit of like altitude training and things like that. Like, could you talk to us a bit about that and how that might help, and if people are thinking of going on camps and things like?
I love
experience with all that.
Yeah, I love camps. I think for me, when you're an athlete and you work, like for me, camps, I don't increase my training volume. For me, the main thing I get is rest. So I think a lot of people try to go on camps and push themselves even harder, less rest, and they come back injured. So for me, it's like, it's an opportunity where I can keep the same training volume, but actually I can have afternoon naps. You can eat a bit more food. It's just a recovery, like extra recovery. But I love training camps. You know, it's like the dream, isn't it? Being a full-time athlete for a little bit. So and just being around other people sort of with the same mindset. If you go away with a group of people and you can use, you know, easy runs or sessions, it's just nice to be around people with the same mindset where you can push each other and also enjoy the downtime. So I love training camps. So I think next year I'd definitely like to go back to altitude again. I love it. Just, you get so much fitter. I love it.
Do you even just a week at altitude?
No, and obviously altitude, unless 3 weeks minimum. Unless you can go away for 3 weeks. I mean, you could probably get away with 2, but you've got to adjust. So I think, when did I go to Kenya? Kenya was like 2 years ago now. And I think because that was quite high, it took me about 10 days to actually feel like okay. So like when the first week, you're not really doing sessions, you're just easy running. So it takes a while to be able to, you know, adjust, like your heart rate was just spike and you've got to make sure, you know, you don't push yourself too hard. So I think with altitude, you do need like a lot longer to adapt. But I used to quite like that. When I did my marathon, I went to altitude at the beginning of my block to get like the easy base miles with like a little bit of just sort of threshold working. And then when I come back to sea level, that's when I wound up the paces, because that kind of what worked for me. If I did too much hard paces at altitude, I'd actually come back more tired. But I think a lot of people tend to go, is it Tenerife now, or was it, you know, for like,
Lanzarote.
And it's also because I'm not sure a lot of the altitude ones, if they have all like the sleds and the skis and stuff like that. But I'm not sure I'd want to do a ski at altitude. I feel like that'd be hell out to, you know, as much as I love that bit of kit, just trying to breathe would be I think it's even swimming at altitude I found really hard, because, you know, when you bring your head out the water for oxygen and you're like, oh wow, that was I'd use that as my recovery, and I found that harder than running. So
well, I think it's so interesting, isn't it? Like,
what about like heat training, like maybe not necessarily altitude, but just going somewhere
again warm? I mean, it's again sort of like, you know, you can get similar benefits, can't you? I find the heat really hard. It takes me a little while again with that, but again, just, I mean, the UK, the weather's just atrocious, isn't it? Like, I think anywhere you can go and you get a bit of sun on your skin, get some vitamin D, and it just makes training easier, doesn't it? It just makes, like, you wake up, the sun's beaming, and you're like, oh yes, let's go. Where, you know, when you wake up and you look outside, you sort of think, you know, you question your life choices a little bit living in the UK.
And you have to warm up as well, don't you? I just feel like when it's warmer, you just don't have to warm up as much. Like, your muscles are all warmer. Like, everything just feels like it's not gonna ping or something's gonna happen, because you just, like, I don't know, you just feel like everything's warmer. Whereas like when it's a cold day and you go out, you're a bit like, oh, I need to really warm up into this before I actually start going.
And as I get older as well, my warm up is ridiculous. It takes me so much longer. Like, you know, like you watch some of them, you know, they're like definitely in their 20s. The next day they bounce down the stairs. Like, I get to the stairs in the morning, I'm like, oh, is it a good day, bad day? How's it going to feel today? But yeah, again, it's just less like, you know, injury risk as well. Like, you're not going to be at such a risk because, again, everything's a bit more supple. The cold, you've just got to be a little bit more careful. Definitely with the faster intervals, because you're asking things to operate at speeds. I think when warmer, you know, it's just a little bit better. So
totally. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. And if someone could take away from this podcast, like you mentioned about the 10 days or 2 weeks with different sessions, if they were to say put like 4 runs into their week, like maybe doing an easy run, a longer run, like an interval and a threshold, like could you give like an example of each, just so someone might be able to understand it a bit better?
Yeah, so I mean, in a week you could still, I think 4 was quite doable, wasn't it? So again, you're gonna have like your long easy run. I mean, sometimes I will put a little bit of effort in the long run, but then that will become a session, if that makes sense. So I tend to do like one longer easy run, then sort of, sometimes for me it'd be like 1 interval, 1 threshold, and then the following week I would do a long easy run, a threshold session, and then a Hyrox session. So I kind of go on that kind of basis, just because, again, I find as being older, like where some people could probably go every other day, they could do something for hard. For me, I need 3 days. So whenever I do something hard, for me, there's like that 72 hours before I go hard again. That's kind of the rule that works for me. Again, everyone's a little bit different. So I think as long as you're balanced out with me, if you've done something hard one day, at least make sure the next day is easy. Like when you see people, you know, they're doing like back to back. Like I think at the moment everyone's doing this double threshold training, which is brilliant. It's great. It does get you incredibly fit. But they're doing it more than once a week, which you know, it's just too much. And I think unless you're actually testing, you know, you've got the equipment, you're testing your blood to see if you're actually in thresholds, I would say most people are probably going too hard.
Yeah, I definitely
you're not doing it off true readings. You're doing it off because you're like, oh no, that's my race pace, so I'm going to run that today. But you know, you don't know how the body's actually really feeling or operating. So I definitely think at the moment there's a lot of people doing like, you know, 3 or 4 times a week they're double threshold training, and it's just I think it is a lot. It is just got to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, it just depends how long your body can last, doesn't it? And then like I've been like reading quite a lot into it because I find it interesting. And like obviously you get we had the whole compromise running. Now it's like the whole of Hyrox has jumped over to threshold, which is cool, but then it's gone straight to double threshold, and like more is better. And like I was reading this article about like a very good coach who coaches like Carla Molinero and used to coach Robbie, and he's saying like just because like Jacob Ingebrigtsen, or is it Ingebrigtsen, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
Like just because he's doing double threshold days, like he's been running since he was a kid, and he is trying to find those like tiny little like increments, and his body is used to the load, and he's used to like pushing, he knows exactly the paces he needs to do. Everything is so specific for him to do it. Just because he's doing double threshold days doesn't mean everybody else should do double threshold day. Like it's almost like working on what works for you and not jumping ahead to these like really exciting, like, oh, this will get me super fit. It's actually the boring stuff that's like just the consistency, and like you said, like getting out and keeping consistent and getting all the runs done and doing your slow steady runs that'll actually probably have the most benefit for most people.
Yeah, especially if you haven't got the time. You know, their training load's massive, isn't it? Like and if you look at, you know, they're Olympians, and like they've been going like 20, you know, they've earned the right to train like that, where when people are quite new to Hyrox and you're like you know, and yes, great, your times are going to come down very, very fast, but there will be consequences for that. And it, you know, it will come along and bite you in the ass if you're not careful. So, you know, sometimes I just think, you know, periodize it, have like a little block where you may do that, but then make sure there is time after that, like you recover for that adaptation rather than just doing weeks and weeks and weeks at it, if that makes sense. So I think as long as you kind of periodize it and like following a big block of doubles, that you've got that recovery process. But otherwise, and then again, then you see them going to race week, you know, 3-4 days out, they're still doing quite hard sessions. I'm like, nah, I'm going out for 25 minutes. You know, it's sort of, I think people are scared to back off to really taper and actually allow their body to recover.
It recovers like that. If you're always training hard, you never get the adaptation because your body doesn't recover and adapt to the training that you've been able to put. Like, I don't know, like everyone's so scared of recovering.
Oh, I love a rest day. You know, when people like rest day feels like a swear word. I'm like, Netflix, if I've got the dogs on my lap for a whole day and I've done 500 steps, I'm really happy. You know, it's a balance, isn't it? And again, you know, a lot of the girls in the Elite 15 and guys, you know, the ones that have been in the space now for a little while since Hyrox has been, you know, they've layered their training. So they've kind of they've built slowly. So if you go out and just try and copy what they do, you're just going to get broken.
No, it's that. I know everyone's so desperate to be faster and better, and you're going to look at the top people, but I think sometimes it's like it's like you haven't seen everyone's journey. And like you said, like the Elite 15, or for example, even just you getting the sub hours and running so fast, everyone will be like, oh, I just want to be like Charlotte and run that fast, and this is what she does, so I'm going to go and do that. Whereas if I start running my intervals at 3:20, that's just going to ruin me for the rest of the week. And like, I'm not even sure I can. But like, it's absolutely pointless me trying to do your training. Like, I don't have your background, but I'd love to run as fast as you. But like, me copying your training is never going to get me there.
It's like you guys, you're probably a hell of a lot stronger than I am, you know, and that's it. That's where I've got a lot of gains to make, is definitely to work on my strength. But I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to just whack in extra strength training just because I want to suddenly be stronger. I know every time, each little block, it's just going to naturally happen. So I think it's not forcing that process, just, you know, like baby steps, like just build into it, because it depends on how long you want to be in the sport as well. And actually 100%. I think, you know, a lot of them in the Elite 15, a lot of them, I would say, have already come back from, well, they've come from some sort of sport as well, haven't they? So again, before they started in Hyrox training, they already had years and years of training under their belt. So it's kind of just knowing where you're at and actually, not like blinkers on, not worried about what, the top lot are doing, and just follow your own little journey and just build it up slowly.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. I just wanted to ask quickly for like a long run, what's your idea of long? Like,
so for me,
some people say like 90 minutes, some people say 2 hours. So like, what would you say is like a long run?
Again, like it's wherever you're at in your running journey, isn't it? It's wherever, if you've built up in 50 minutes, your longest run, that's what you built to, is 50 minutes, isn't it? So for me at the moment, I've been sitting around 10 miles. So it's kind of what, sort of just over like, 70, 74, 75 minutes. But also I know my long runs need to get longer, but I'm not ready to go back to the distances that I used to do. But so, eventually I'd like to build back to doing up to about 15 miles, which is going to be about an hour and 45.
Yeah.
I think the lot, over time, any sort of base that you can get, it's sort of like, and that's a good opportunity where you can have like long, slow, like time, time on feet. But again, so definitely want to build up to getting back up towards that like 1 hour 45.
Yeah, because I think some people hear long run and they kind of panic and think it's got to be like 3 hours or something.
No, it's
yeah, just like even getting to, if you're getting to that hour mark, 70-minute, like
it's fine. And I think again, it depends on like, if the race is taking you 80 minutes, 90 minutes, like if you can build up to just running slow for that time, your body just gets used to operating for, it doesn't matter the pace, but it gets used to working for that amount of time.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of, if you can kind of nearly match sort of like, but it depends on, what time you're looking at doing. But definitely if you're in within that 90 minutes, there's no reason, to do that for long run is fine. So
yeah, no, totally. And Charlotte, you do like a lot of, you're a PT, aren't you?
Yeah.
Do you do like Hyrox? Do you do running? Do you do like multiple like classes at a gym? Like what's your speciality?
Like my classic gym, barbells, which I quite like teaching, just because it's getting all your like your lifts and stuff in, barbell Hyrox, and then I do quite a lot of running PT now, so which I really enjoy. Like it's just getting them off the treadmills. They all love the treadmills, but I know I think
rounding them all up. Come on, we're going
up. I think it's because like they can run together, even if they're at different paces. It's that you're together, aren't you? But in the summer last year, we've got a little school down the road that's got a grass track, so that's our closest track. But I love it. It's on a bit of a slope, but it gets you fit. So in the summer we did get them down there, which is quite nice, and got them running around outside. I love a grass track. It's a little bit nice and like for your joints and stuff. But I do enjoy the running. Is there? I love it. Like school grass. It just takes you back to like back to school, doesn't it? So nostalgia.
Like, proper.
It has to be dry though, because you can't run on it.
Oh
yeah.
So the winter I wouldn't touch it, but the summer it's when it's all dry, it's nice to use. So.
Oh, that's cool. And do you do any online stuff? Like if someone wanted to...
No, I think eventually that's kind of where I kind of want to move to, because obviously I think with competing and stuff, you need more time off work, aren't you? So, when I don't work, I don't get paid. So it's kind of at some point, and again, I'd love to go down the Hyrox route, but I was like, are you going to do it yet? And I was like, no, because I need to learn. I need to get it wrong for myself first. I kind of like to learn what I'm doing. I don't want to be like, oh, I've done a sub-hour coach and open. That's not who I am. It's I like to do things properly. You like to know what you're talking about and doing, and so you can make people's programs like structured and put people in the right direction rather than just sort of like second guessing.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, that's great. I just thought people after this might be like
so run coaching, I've got a couple of like clients that I do run coaching for. So, it's a kind of I'm quite old school, just send it through WhatsApp, if I could write it on paper and give each one a bit of paper, that's still, I love writing down stuff on paper. Very old school.
Yeah, I feel like most runners are, I mean, that's a very generalization, but like the hardcore, like old school runners, it's the same. Like we get our run like planned through from Robbie in WhatsApp or in an email, like written down, like, it's just what
works.
Yeah, totally. And then I'm guessing that you're qualified for Chicago.
Yes, right? Yes, I have. Yeah.
So who with?
I am doing it with Jade. I think and so basically I'm 14 April, so we're gonna go out and then we're gonna be doing a bit of a hiring a car, going to Nashville, Smoky Mountains, down to Atlanta. So we're kind of turning it into a 40th with a Hyrox thrown in.
Yeah,
so
wild.
why not? And I think for me, the first World was like with Jade, I'm not going to force because it's going to be pro weights. You know, she does want to focus on running still. So Worlds for me is pure. It's just going to be me and Jade, a little bit of fun. And it'd just be nice to just go see what Worlds is all about without any pressure.
Yeah.
And then obviously next year I could look at the solo, you know, because I do feel like I could be up there and challenging. But I think this year, just to go experience it would be, yeah. And, you know, you didn't want your best friends, you know, it'd just be fun, wouldn't it? So, yeah, I'm excited.
And tagging a road trip on as well.
Tagging
like,
a road
trip
on,
so, yeah, exactly.
So I think the husband's coming out for the first week, then I'm sending him home, and then the girls are going on a road trip.
Perfect. Yeah. And then is there any more races planned between now and then, or
yeah, so and again, they're just gonna be double. So Glasgow will be the next one. So that's only 3 weeks, isn't it? So and then Berlin. So so Jade,
you will love that.
I dragged Jade to because I was like, you need to do pro weights once before Worlds, just so
fair.
We don't feel like we get there and she's gonna be like, what you put me in for? So yeah, bless her, because I mean, yeah, she's great for running. She's got good elbows, you know, typical runner, elbows out, so she's good to chase her on the track. But yeah, so we definitely need to work on her strength a little bit, just so I don't got to do all the sleds on my own, because that won't be quite so fun.
That will be brutal. And who are you racing with in Glasgow?
Sophia. So Sophia, I can never pronounce her second name. Like Sophia, like Wayne. So she did the Open at the weekend in Vienna and took from what she's run 57. She took the world record.
Oh, wow.
So
you do pick them, don't you?
I just messaged her. I was like, why? Like, yeah. So again, but she's only she's 27. So again, I've paired myself with like a under 30. So we're going to do Glasgow doubles, so that you know pro doubles as well. So that'd be good little tester. Yeah, so it'd be good to go sub-hour again with the pro weights, which I think is doable. So we'll see on the day. You just never know, do you? So
amazing.
So like, if you're under 30 and you're a fast runner, just watch out, because you might get a DM from Charlotte. Pick you off for it.
Just pimp myself out. I love it though. I just love it. I think and I think like I'm really enjoying going with different people as well, because when you go, everyone has different strengths and weaknesses, and sometimes like with Jade, like I hate wall balls, they're a weakness of mine, but she's not as good as me, so like I have to, you know, be like, right, you know, put your big girl pants on, just do it. So I think when you work with different people, you have to bring different things to the table, which I quite enjoy, and you just learn more and more about yourself and what you need to work
different
on,
strategies and stuff, I guess, because different people do different things, and you might pick something up and be like, oh, that's good, I'll take that away, or that works.
So it's just fun, isn't it? I'm probably addicted to doubles though, so it's going to be hard to get me to a solo next season.
You'd be like going to pass that wall ball off, and you'd be like, oh shit,
I've got to do it myself. 100. Are you kidding? Can I just go to the end and get time penalty? You know, I don't like those. That's probably the worst. Yeah, wall balls. I do not like those wall balls. But you know, they will get better.
Yeah, definitely. Love it. Faye, do you want to add anything else, or shall I go on to the?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good time to go on to the cheeky insights, because we've just worked out what Charlotte doesn't like. So let's go on to find out what she does like.
Okay, so we've got 8 questions for you. The first one is, what shoes do you wear to race?
The On, so the Cloud Echo Booms.
Okay. Do they have a carbon plate?
Yeah, so I like them because they kind of rock you forward a little bit, but not too much. I don't like any shoe that gives you that severe. I don't need that help. Do you know what I mean? So I find for me, it makes me run a bit funny. So they're probably the best I found, like when it comes to like lunges and wall balls, and actually the grip's really good as well. So I'm getting on really well with those.
Yeah, that's good, especially if it helps with your ankle for stability. Like I guess your shoe choice is quite
because I think it used to be the Nike Next Percents, but I don't know how people. I don't know how they wear the Next Percents, all the Alpha Flies, and how do you lunge it? Like, so I don't know how people lunge in them. That obviously.
They don't do the Next Percents anymore, though, do they?
Do they not?
No, and they were my favorite. Like, I love that as a trainer, for running. Like for running, I never worn them for a Hyrox, but
so I didn't get on with the Alpha Flies. I don't know. I just think the heel stack, they're high. I just I don't like them. I hate them.
Would you wear them for a run race or not?
No, not now. Anyway? No. I literally I just don't. I think I've tried. I bought them twice and tried to wear them, and I was just like, no, my ankles just hurt.
Yeah, they are pretty high.
Yeah, I've not tried them. Okay, next one. Which has been your favorite venue to race in?
Probably in terms for running, XL, like just because of it's less laps and you can, long straights.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
is.
gonna love Berlin, aren't you? Because it's one
Oh
lap, isn't
no,
it?
one lap. This is going to be
And
heaven, isn't it?
outside.
And outside. Can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like such a cool venue. I think.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Berlin.
Yeah, really good. Okay, next one. Not your worst station, which is your favorite station? And running doesn't count.
Damn it! Yeah, it's going to be more cardio. It's going to be the ski, definitely the ski.
Yeah,
the ski. Anything for the lungs. Okay, next one. Oh, this is interesting. If you could do a doubles Hyrox with anyone in the world, who would you choose?
Oh, I don't know. Like it's really, I think I don't know. No, do you know what? Someone over 40.
So, yeah.
Someone over 40 who wants to go sub-hour, hit me up.
Yeah, fair.
Good answer. Anyone listening, send Charlotte a DM if you're over 40 and can run fast. Okay, number 5 is, do you fuel for Hyrox? And if so, what do you use and when do you have it in the race?
And honestly, in the morning, it's just hydration, obviously getting, good breakfast in, good amount of carbs in. With doubles, I've not needed a gel. I'd kind of have a Rice Krispie Squares bar and a banana about an hour before. And jobs are good and that gets me through.
Yeah. We
Rice Krispie Squares.
I love them.
Yeah, they're so good. I actually went off them for a while because I had so many, but I'm back on them again now. But...
Such a good snack. Okay, next one. What's your favorite type of training session?
Oh, it's just still gonna be running, isn't it? It's just run intervals. Do you know? I kind of like a mix of definitely. I think if it's run ergs with sleds, I kind of like that because I just feel like it just really gets you. So I kind of enjoy that.
And if you're doing a session like that, what kind of would you do? 400 meters or?
Do you know what? I think where our gym's at is kind of, I don't really by the time I get on the treadmill, I think 400 meters, I'm like, why? It just feels like I'm not, what's the point? I'm not getting, I think it takes me a while to get into pace. So for me, I kind of don't 800 meter reps up. I kind of like doing just because I can get into pace, I can build into it and just get quicker. So, anything 800 meter run, get down onto the ski, anything between 500 meters to 1,000 meters, onto the sled, probably sled push more than sled pull, and just kind of repeat anything like that kind of session. I quite enjoy.
Yeah. Okay, next one is, in a nutshell, why should someone sign up for their first Hyrox?
Oh, it's just fun. And I just love it. You can do it with your friends, you can do it with family members. I love it when you see mum and sons or mother and daughter, anything like that. You can do it with your best friends. It's just fun, keeps you fit, keeps you healthy. No reason not to do it, really.
Yeah, so true. Very inclusive for everyone. It's really, really nice event. Okay, last one is there anyone that you would like to hear us interview and hear more about that we could have on the podcast?
There's just so many people, isn't there? It'd be definitely nice to have some definitely some of the older women who are doing really, really well, because it's just an insight on because I think when the speeds they're running at that age and maintaining that, it's actually very impressive. And there's quite a few of them, isn't there? So
I know. It's so cool to see. I just think because I think a lot of people go, oh, I can't do that now. And I think it's just opened everyone's eyes a little bit more to the fact that you can.
I know. I think even with my running, I was 30s, that's when I really properly started running. And I think you can achieve so much as you get older. Yes, it might take you a little bit longer. You don't recover, the 20-year-olds, they bounce off, but it can be done. It can be done. I think it's just, it's interesting to know. Yeah, definitely, some of the women in their 50s and they're smashing it. It's incredible. It's just, that's where I want to be. None of that age, still hitting it hard and still doing well.
100%.
It is. It's train smarter, not harder, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've just got to make more time for the recovery, or do, like you say, have 3 days easy between each session. You just got to think about it a bit more. But I mean, there's so many older women absolutely smashing it. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it is. It's awesome. Well, blimey, that's a good place to round up, isn't it? For everyone listening that wants to maybe follow your journey or reach out to you because they're over 40 and they're super fast, where can they find you?
So Tattooed Athlete on Instagram.
That's the best place to reach out to you. Cool. And we'll obviously put everything in the show notes and link it when we make the show live. But is there anything else you want to add or?
I think we pretty much covered it all.
Yeah, it's been good, hasn't it? Well, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. We know you're about to go off for a massage now, which is very well deserved. Yeah, I know. Is it a nice massage? Is it a sports massage, or is it?
I'm weird. I love a sports massage. You know,
Oh,
just
God.
sort of like, the like that weird, like, you know, when people have shockwave or needles, I'm like, hit me up. I think
Yeah, give me everything.
I got a weird pain threshold. Yeah, give me everything.
I mean, that explains why you're fast at Hyrox. I think if you like can embrace the pain,
yeah,
that's the way to do it, isn't it?
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Please give the show a follow on whatever podcast platform you listen on. It will really help us to get some awesome guests onto the show. And we will catch you on the next episode.